and it's really nice to come to this, and thank you very much for organising it. Myself and the team really appreciate it.
No, well, it's great to see you. And as you say, it's always it's a difficult Monday, isn't it? I can see from the data already. Okay. Well, look, it's lovely to see you all. And Mike Moore, the chair, and I we're really keen to get everyone together. And I think what you have all collectively achieved over really such a short period of time is absolutely central to how we're able to look after our patients, how we're able to keep our staff safe and well and feeling safe and well. And also it's a very big part of us building for the future. And it's us showing that when we come together as a community, we can do extraordinary things really quickly. So the development of T2 foregrounds the development of another 100 beds or so for the campus, which foregrounds the development of the Children's and the Cancer Hospital, which foregrounds the development of Addenbrooke's 3. So it's incredibly important for patients, and it's incredibly important for where Addenbrooke's is going as a big national and international provider of health and care, which I think we've sort of really demonstrated so clearly over the course of the last 18 months in relation to our response to COVID. So it's really just a chance to say thank you and well done. But what I think, Mike, you and I were most keen that we would do is just have a discussion about what it was like, what it was like for different people. Does that sound okay? Rather than giant long speeches from, well, me and obviously a succinct, punchy one from Mike. Are people happy just to discuss how we got on? Does that sound okay?
This is being recorded as well.
I know. So Phil, by leaping in first, what was it like for you for the last, well, really since October last year? What would your reflections be?
Well, the first, I was very proud actually to have the phone call from ACOM originally. So thank you for the trust that was put into us. So I work for SDC, and at the first phone call, in fact, was June last year, just in terms of would we be in a position to support the project, and we were just delighted to have been given the opportunity to have been contacted, and of course we rallied around and felt very emotional actually at the beginning when we were in the middle of the pandemic last year. So very exciting at the early stages, because the scheme developed hugely from the initial through to where we've ended up being. My involvement's more kind of procurement, finance, and setting up the early start of the project, and then working with Farid and the site team in terms of site delivery. It's been very exciting, been very frustrating in certain instances, because there's been lots of data that's been given to us. We've been trying to get the data into real construction information and then actually deliver the project. But very proud moment in January when we had the first units that were landed. So that was a very proud moment for the whole team on the first unit.
Phil, could I just ask, and I am going to call in other colleagues, and Amanda and then Maria, it'd be lovely to get your perspectives, and then other people, do just pop your hand up or wave frantically, and I'll try and get to you. But Phil, I'm sure it doesn't happen to you, but we all have, well, I certainly have moments where I'm just like, you've got to be joking. What's just happened? And I feel quite low. And I also have moments of wild elation and happiness. I'm relatively balanced most of the time, but Phil, what for you was if you were just to give us one moment where you thought, my word, I feel quite moved. I'm really proud of what we're doing here.
Well, certainly the way that the team came together. So similarly how we've had the phone call, we've contacted trusted partners who have put a huge amount of effort into this. So Farid, our contracts manager, would know more. But the Saturday and the Sunday, the staying till 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock on night to try and deliver this scheme for yourselves. Very proud moment. And there's lots of people that the guys physically on site who have to deal with the kind of theory and the drawings and the theoretical side of it, and they've got to turn that into reality. So it's a real gift, and working together as a group has been a real joy, absolute joy.
Well, Phil, thank you. And Farid, lovely to see you. Do you have a comment what it was like for you being here at 9 o'clock at night, which is what I heard? And then Amanda, it'd be lovely to get your perspective, Amanda Wood. So Farid.
Yeah, hi Roland. I think I'll say on behalf of the whole team, really, it was myself, and we've got Ian Boast, and I think Joe Jackson are in the room. Gives a wave, Ian and Joe, if you can see us. Yeah, hopefully you'll be able to see them on the screen. So between myself and the whole team, everyone's put in, like Phil said, a huge amount of effort of weekdays and weekends to get the scheme to where it needed to be delivered for the trust. And again, hitting the milestones of having a car park there on, I think it was the 12th of September when we first got the site and a big field, to then sort of 6 to 9 months later having a ward that's fully operational has certainly been really good to see, and I think that's been well received by everyone who's been part of the scheme, really. So bit of an unnormal job for us, but in the circumstances that we were finding ourselves, I think everyone just dug in and did what they needed to do to get the job done. It was one of those.
Lovely. Well, Farah, thank you very much for that. And I do remember it going from a car park to something that's not a car park really quite quickly. Okay. And Amanda, what's your perspective? What was it like for you?
So we, in terms of the workforce and bringing together the workforce work stream, I think we had a lot of people to help make that happen, and the project felt really well organised from my perspective. So we had Max from the strategic products team who helped organise us all. We had Stacey who looked after all the numbers, and Stacey was brilliant in terms of pulling that all together and making sure that we had all the numbers pulled together, because of course it's not just the direct workforce costs that we had to think about and the team. We had to think about all the supporting functions as well. So there was we had a weekly meeting on a Wednesday, and so it meant that all the professional leads could all catch up and just check out and test the model, and then that was obviously heavily supported by recruitment to then make sure that we were able to get the team together. And it was so much better once we had Bethany there as the team leader to make that all happen, so that then she was able to get the team together and be ready to start. I think there were some difficulties because of delays and not knowing just exactly, well, we had people ready to go and recruited, but then we had to just wait a little bit before we were able to get started again. But it was really brilliant to be part of that project. But there was a lot of people involved to make that happen.
And Amanda, we've talked a lot over the years about, I know you're a very keen runner and you're very, driven and motivated in lots of ways. What would you take through from this if you were doing it again? What was the sort of lesson?
So I think it's given us a really helpful model, actually, to lead on to a lot of the other capital projects that we've got going on. So within children's and cancer, and the 60 beds and the 40 beds. So we've got a good structure now for that. All of the people that need to be involved to work out just what does the workforce model need to be, we've got a better view across the organisation of just all of the support costs that we need to take into account and how we work that out. And I think good working relationships between workforce and finance and all of the services to be able to pull that all together, and also to question. And I haven't mentioned medical staffing. Zoe has done lots of work just in relation to medical staff. So I think we've got a much better idea now of how to make those other projects happen and just how to smooth things out a little bit.
Great, lovely.
It's nice to smart on a smaller scale than some of these other projects that we've got coming up.
Yes, but
we would love to be involved in your future projects. If I can do a bit of a prompt there, bit of a marketing.
I'm sure that following a fair and open and transparent procurement process, Phil, you and your team will put your best foot forward.
100%.
Ever the salesman, Phil.
Lovely, thank you. Enough. Well done. So Amanda, that's really lovely to hear. And you mentioned Bethany. And before I come to Maria, Bethany, hi. Would you like to give us? It's lovely to see you. Give us a big wave. And Bethany, do you have a perspective you'd like to share of what it was like from your point of view?
Yeah, so as Amanda said, it was different for us as we were all ready to go as a team, and we were sort of waiting in between L5, C5 and J3. So to all get together and finally be on T2 was really satisfying. And that was the moment, the first day when we were suddenly all there, all on the roster and all working together and could put names to faces, because we'd all spoken here and there, but never actually all worked together. So that was really good. But I do have to give mention to Rebecca Oakley and Jacob Jones, who throughout the whole process, every time I've asked for anything or had an opinion on anything, they've always picked it up and listened and dealt with it straight away. They've really been the rock for me.
What sort of things, Bethany, have they been rocks on?
The biggest thing was getting the sisters office made, because I didn't originally have a sisters office, so helping with that's been amazing. And then it's been the little things that you don't necessarily know you're going to hit until they happen. So when we've actually been here, it's been little things with IT and printers and realizing that we don't use that room but we use that room instead, and can we move A to B and get shelves moved, and the practicality of the ward. Obviously the plans are there, but when we're actually here using it, we've then realised things need adapting, and they've been on it straight away and dealt with everything fabulously.
Fantastic. And Bethany, who are you in particular you're highlighting in that? Are they on the call as well?
I think I've seen it was Rebecca Fountain.
Rebecca, are you with us?
Yes, I am.
Yeah.
So Rebecca, do you want to give your perspective?
Yes, so I think it's been a really great project for us to be involved in, and such a big learning curve for all of us. I think when we finally could sort of getting towards furnishing the ward, and when we were moving all the services in and working with all of the wider estates team, it was a huge learning curve, and it was just great to have that sort of collaborative effort across from everyone, especially working with Bethany and the team. It was great, and when we could see all the patients in, it's been really lovely.
Good. And Rebecca, could you say a bit about, give us an example of one of the things that you've done in the way that Bethany articulated? One of the moments you thought, blimey, we've got to move quickly and sort this out?
So I think there was a sort of a couple of things that arose during the commissioning period, particularly with equipment and trying to fix that. And there were a few things that we just needed to move in quicker and change plans slightly with equipment. And I think it was just working really closely with our estates colleagues that helped that, and also taking advice from the clinical team. Bethany was really knowledgeable and very calm throughout the process as well, which really helped, and sort of giving us very clear instructions as to what she needed, and then sort of best, if we couldn't facilitate that, what the next best steps were, which was really helpful.
Yeah, a bit of calm goes quite a long way, doesn't it, Rebecca? I think if it's quite easy, isn't it, to get quite energized and worked up. I'm thinking to myself now as much as anything else. Good. And Bethany, who else did you mention? It was lovely. Rebecca, thank you so much for that. But Bethany, other people who are on the call who you mentioned?
Yeah, it was Oakley, Colby.
Oakley, are you with us?
And Jacob Jones, but I don't think he's here.
Jacob,
hello, everyone.
Oakley, oh, hello. There you are. How are you?
Yeah, I'm good. How are you?
Very good. Do you have a perspective you'd like to share, how things were for you?
Yeah, it was just following on from what Becky said, really, because and for a new build, it was we hadn't had much experience. We'd only had in modular infusion to sort of learn from, and this T2 has given us a great opportunity to learn and improve P2, Q2, and U block moving forward with new builds, and yeah, it was really enjoyable experience.
Yeah, and Oakley, I know you were. It's very clear to you, isn't it? I think the impact that this has had for patients and will have for patients as we move through the next sort of 18 months or so. If you think about the pressures of subsequent waves of COVID, you can see that.
Yes, definitely. Yeah.
And Jacob, lovely to see you.
How are you? Yeah, I'm good. How are you?
Very good. I recognise you from your eyes alone.
There you go. I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing.
Yeah. It's lovely to see you again. Jacob, what's your perspective?
So I don't want to take the glory for Becky and Oakley's work, really. I've just sort of been overseeing what they've been doing, and they've done really well. It's not to embarrass them now, but it's one of the first commissionings they've done as part of the team, and they did exceptionally well for us. So it's just really giving them the praise they deserve more than me. And also Bethany and Division C as well. They've been brilliant to us, really. And as Becky touched on, been nice and calm and collective, which is really important when it gets to the crunching point of a project. So from my point of view, the benefit is obviously just to the patients and that additional capacity for the trust. It's really pivotal to moving forward. So that's what I have to add, really.
Lovely. Well, I mean, Jacob, Oakley, Bethany, really, I think very helpful to hear some of the realities that you were wrestling with and how you were able to work so effectively. What really comes across, Mike, I think for you and I, and this is the energy and the drive that's made this a reality so quickly. And Karin, I don't think we should lose sight, should we, of this was a very difficult thing to do in the middle of a pandemic. And January and February, we were really under enormous pressure. It's extraordinary that people were able to work through. I mean, before we come to Maria, Karin, do you have a view?
Yeah, so it's really quite humbling sitting here and seeing all of these people on the call, and there's so many more not joining us, and every single person, if they didn't do their part, we wouldn't have delivered what we've delivered. So absolutely everybody's huge contribution. I think one of the things for me was, Mike, when you and I went on a site visit, and Phil from SDC and Phil from ESS supported that visit, and when we stood over the underground, which was just, it looked like a massive dam, and all the complexity, it really just hit me then, just what is the scale of what we're delivering here. And T2 is only, as Rowan was saying, is foregrounding so many things, but just the scale, the complexity, and the human side of this, that actually everybody coming to work will have the concerns about COVID for their families, for themselves, having to work in a new environment where COVID restrictions are in place. Everybody having to be tested, having the temperature scan, over and above all of the other health and safety things. So I think if I think about it from a contractor's perspective, I think huge amounts of working together is required. We have got a very long way to go still. So I think it's been great what we've delivered, but this just foregrounds the work, I think, that's still ahead of us. And then I think the other aspect of when I look at our professional team, so we've got a team, ACOM and LSI and Northmoors and Health Fire and a whole host of people that have been working with our contractors, SDC and ESS and their whole team, to actually make sure that all the different puzzle pieces fit. And overlaying is also the local knowledge of the local engineering teams, the expertise here in terms of delivering within a very challenging environment, right next to a mental health block where we've got mental health patients, right opposite a nursery where we've got little kiddies running around and going on their picnics and things like that, to a very constrained site where we've still got cars parked, and then right across the road we've got patients being treated. And then actually opening it up and having the patients in, all of those support services from pharmacy to procurement to medical devices to catering, cleaning, portering, all of those things having to be in place is just a huge undertaking. And I think it just demonstrates the spirit of how much Adam Brooks and Rosie and how much patience matter to people delivering this. Sorry, it was a long reflection, but it's been a long process.
No, I mean, it's right, isn't it, Karin? And again, it's very humbling, isn't it, to hear the sheer scale of what's required. And just important, I think, just to be very direct, Karin, is how do you feel when people like me say to you, why can't you open it in 2 months, not 6? And I say that knowing that you were successful in your Taekwondo black belt on Sunday. So I think I'm safely distanced from you, but tell me how it feels in the real world and how you handle that, because it's a lot of pressure, isn't it?
Yeah, I think sometimes it's the first reaction is, of course, we would deliver it quicker if we could, but that's not the right answer. So how that feels is like, are we missing something? Can we do this quicker? Have we got the right people around the table? And let's just run through this again. Can we do this quicker? And then we have to be tempering, and my job is to temper your enthusiasm for getting it open early with the safety, because the safety of the people delivering the work at the time is of paramount importance. And the safety of the patients once the unit is operational is of paramount importance, not just on day one, but for however long that facility is running. So sometimes it's not easy. You know, if people constantly ask you, can you do it quicker? Can you do it quicker? It can get weary. But I think it's also our job to be open to see, are we missing something? Can we do it quicker? And Claire's on the call as well. And just like you asked me, I ask Claire as well, and I challenge and I say, what about this? What about that? But I think it is, you know, that's part of the job, and not always easy to convey the message, but sometimes we are able to deliver things a little bit quicker than we had planned.
No, and I think, Corinne, it's important to have these conversations, isn't it? You know, an extraordinary group of people have done something absolutely terrific for patients and staff and for the region, and in some cases for the country, very, very quickly. And Corinne, you always handle us very well, I think, in balancing that. Gosh, we need to do this now with what's the right answer? How can we do it? And I think you work very well across all of our teams. And Claire, before we come to Maria, what's your perspective? Does that resonate with you?
Absolutely, Roland. You know, the many times you might have asked Karen, she's asked me exactly the same question. And we challenge ourselves as a team. My team here, Andy Passmore, who hasn't been mentioned, as well as Rebecca and Oakley and Zoe. So, you know, we challenge ourselves all the time. We'll challenge Phil, we challenge our professional teams around the programme. And, you know, Karen mentions the complexities. You know, not only are we trying to, you know, land 100 beds, we're also trying to dig a big piece of infrastructure for the site moving forward. So taking into consideration all those complexities, and of course having two main contractors with overlapping independencies to manage as well, and Phil's nodding. So there's many meetings that we've been on where we've challenged each other around linking into our infrastructure services as well. So you can have something quicker, but it's not always the quality that you'll get.
No, that's right, Claire, isn't it? And I think things like being able to progress with the building of the tunnel to the site that will then enable the cancer hospital to be built. Claire Stoneham, we know that sits alongside ensuring the government commitment to make sure we've got kids and cancer in those 13 that will be built before 2026, we hope. So Claire, thank you. And Maria, could we just come to you? And then Mike, if you've got any final comments, and then we'll wrap up. So Maria, your perspective?
It's been a huge honour to be part of the leadership team that's looked after the operational side of things. And the reason why it's been such an honour is my pride in Addenbrooke's and the people that I've worked with on this project has just been enormous. It's the nursing teams and nursing in Bethany's leadership. The estates team have been phenomenal, absolutely stunning. Every single meeting, being able to step up to the plate and meet the challenges, which have been many, absolutely phenomenal. I'd like to mention Adam Armstrong as well for his work from clinical engineering and making sure we had the kit and caboodle ready for the day of opening, which was really very special. And Claire Holiday has been with us every week to keep us on the straight and narrow from the IT perspective, and our weekly meetings have been enjoyable. I think it was Oakley said that it's been an enjoyable project, and the relationships we've built and developed have just been, I'm proud of what we've managed to achieve. So I won't have mentioned everybody that was operationally involved in this, but every single person came to the meetings with a can-do attitude, a problem-solving attitude, and an ability to make this work in the timelines. And those timelines were really tight. And there were some hairy moments along the way, as there often is, but actually people stepped up to the plate and met the challenge. We've got a beautiful facility for patients. It's light, it's airy, it's a really nice environment. And we managed to pull everything together in the short time scale. And I can remember being on one of the executive meetings when I was asked, how is T2 going? And I think the person that asked me was asking with trepidation. And I said, it's good, it's very good. We will be ready on time for the day of opening. And I'd like to thank everybody who was listening here and people that were involved and not here, because actually my pride in this organisation, this was a really good example, and actually we'll be able to replicate this for U2 and U3. It's a fantastic model to be able to know that we'll be delivering U2 and U3. So well done everybody, thank you.
Terrific. Maria, a real call to arms and celebration, I think, of everyone. Thank you so much. And Mike, any quick reflections from you, Mike Moore, just before I draw to a close?
Yeah, thanks, Ron. No, just to say a huge thank you to absolutely everyone here today and who's not here today. Like you said, Maria, you know, the fun actually isn't an accident. These things don't just happen by accident. It's people coming together really well with in the way that people have today on this project, I think is why you have fun. It is challenging, but that sense of achievement is palpable. So I just really want to say huge thank you. Karen, you mentioned I'd been on there about 10 weeks ago, I guess. We went around with Phil, something like that. And I was hugely impressed. And then Bethany, I came on T2 and showed the mayor around, the elected mayor. You were busy in an MDT at the time. I saw you and we didn't interrupt you. But I was so impressed by the huge amount that had been done in between those 2 points, and the feel of the ward was absolutely terrific. So really just a real thank you to everyone. Really impressed. And thank you also for all the tips that I've received in the last half hour as to how to handle Roland when he gets frustrated. That's really helpful to know. Thank you.
Mike, thank you for that. I think that involves Taekwondo lessons with Karen, I suspect. Good. Well, thank you and well done. And I suppose what comes across to me, I think probably to all of us, is it's been quite a frightening year and a half, hasn't it, for all of us at different times. It's been frightening. It's been quite sad at times. It's been also, you know, at times very positive. And as a community, you've come together and you've done this. You've made this happen. And you've made this happen for our patients. You've made it happen for staff. You've made it happen for a very wide range of people that we serve. And you're foregrounding, as I say, the next step of the Addenbrooke's and the Rosie journey as a major national force for good. So what you've done is extraordinary, and the range of people who've been involved, and there's many colleagues we haven't called on today. We've come together and we've done this, haven't we? And that's absolutely terrific. So I think this is a big celebration, I think, really for all of us, for all that we've contributed. So can I just suggest we all come off mute if it's possible, and just give ourselves a round of applause and say well done. So really well done. Thank you. Good. And T2 and all of these developments will go through periods of being what they were originally intended for, as we have staff shielding or having to stay at home because of self-isolation. Things may well evolve and we'll go through particular periods, but we know that as we go through the next 2 years, we're going to have 120 beds here, well staffed, and that's going to make the delivery of care for our patients absolutely central. So a huge thank you, everyone. Well done, and look forward to seeing you around face to face. And thank you to everyone who's contributed today. Have a lovely rest of your day.
Thank you. Thanks very much.
Thank you. Bye.